Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Alex. I'm a coach, a gym owner, and a bodybuilder.
Bells ringing, diamonds blinging, carols singing, favorite season.
The topic du jour, supplements. What are they? What do we do? Do you even need them? At the risk of this looking like a buff chick supplements commercial, it's not. Everything I'm about to share with you is brand agnostic. The supplement industry is rife, absolutely rife, with misinformation, false promises, exaggerated claims, if you will. And my goal, I believe that knowledge is power. So my goal here today is just to give you some education about what supplements are out there, what they're actually going to do for you, and if you even need to blow your money on them. I'm also having a spot of tea. Do we like my cute little winter decor, my little winter wonderland over here? Anyway, like I said, this could end up looking like a buff chick commercial. It's not. They don't pay me to talk to you here on YouTube. They pay me to talk to you on TikTok. However, I will say, I could go on and on about the great things about this brand. I'll spare you. A note to make. Supplements are just that. They are there to supplement what you're already doing with your training and nutrition. They are not a magic cure-all. Can I make a confession? This is kind of embarrassing, but I used to take a fat burner and then I would eat extra thinking that the fat burner and the things that I ate would cancel each other out. And it turns out that that's exactly not how it works at all. And in fact, most studies show that fat burning type supplements, thermogenics, will typically only help you burn an extra 50 calories per day. And you could probably honestly accomplish that just by parking your car a little further away at work or the grocery store, getting up frequently, whether it's just to take a lap around the office or whatever. There are way better ways to burn 50 calories than spending 50 or 100 bucks on a tub of powder. Anyway, let's dive in. Let's start with the nutrition piece. So, like I said, supplements are there to aid what you're already doing with nutrition. One of the biggest pieces that I see people struggle with is hitting a protein target. Now, if you're unaware, there is an RDA for protein, but it is abysmally low. Whether you strength train or not, it's probably not enough protein. If you are somebody who strength trains, we should be aiming for about 1 gram per pound of body weight. Now, it's technically 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram, but let's just make it easy and say 1 gram per 1 pound of body weight. So that means that for me, as a 140-pound individual, standing at a whopping 5'2", that I need to aim for about 140 grams of protein per day. Now, if you are edging into the obese range, meaning that you have a higher body fat percentage, maybe 30-35%, then it might be best for you to select your goal weight. And this is speaking under the assumption that you're trying to lose some weight. However, that number can still be really high. Let's say that you're shooting for 130, 140, 150 grams of protein. That can still be a really high, really difficult number to hit. So when you are setting that protein target, think about where you're already at. If you're getting 60 or 70 grams of protein per day, maybe your first goal is just to edge that up to 70 grams or 80 grams or 90 grams. Just incrementally work that up until you're at that ideal target for yourself. That said, one of the easiest ways to start upping that protein intake is with a protein supplement. This is my personal all-time favorite. I love the Buff Whey and the Fudge Brownie flavor. Now, this is an isolate. There are a few different kinds of protein supplements out there that are whey-based. There's either a whey blend or a whey isolate. I mean, there are lots of other types, and we'll get into vegan options. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. A whey isolate has simply gone through some additional processing to pull out all of the lactose. And so what that creates is a digestible, highly bioavailable, which is just a fancy way of saying that your body can utilize it, product. One of the easiest ways to start hitting that protein target is to front load your protein in the beginning of the day. This could mean that maybe you take a scoop of your favorite isolate and you mix it into some milk and pour it over cold cereal. Maybe you mix it into some overnight oats. But aiming to get 25 to 50 grams of protein right out the jump, right out the gate, first thing in the morning can help you hit that target a little bit easier throughout the day. The other type of whey-based protein that's available on the market is a whey blend. So it's a little bit less processing, which makes it a little bit more affordable. But for many people can cause some digestive discomfort. That's why I always reach for an isolate. If an isolate still does not agree with your system, there are vegan options out there. Of the 3 vegan flavors that Buff Chick has, birthday cake is by far my favorite. I will say that texture-wise, a vegan protein is probably not going to be as smooth and drinkable as you would like. Buff Chick specifically, so typically when you find a vegan protein supplement, the protein is derivative of pea, soy, sometimes pumpkin. There are a few different ways. Buff Chick specifically is pea and rice. Moving right along, let's talk about buff reds and greens. I know that greens powders are super popular on the market right now and are frequently advertised as being cure-alls for bloating and poor digestion. I'm here to tell you right here, right now, that that is absolutely not the case. That is not what they're for. They can't fix bloating. That's something that needs to be accomplished through nutrition. Which means selecting food sources that settle well with your body, making sure that the bolus of food that you eat or the amount of food that you're eating in one sitting isn't too much. For some people, like, I'll never eat broccoli because it hurts my tummy. It's difficult for my body to digest. So I don't eat broccoli. And you know what? I'm never bloated. All right, now that we know that these are not a magical cure-all, what these do have. Oftentimes the greens are packed with antioxidants, which is known to help support the immune system. It's not going to boost your immune system, it helps support your immune system. Do we get the difference? Of course we do. You're a smart cookie. Additionally, Buff Chicks has ashwagandha root, which can help promote a sense of well-being and calmness throughout the day. So specifically, I like to take these and then 10 or 15 minutes later, then I'll have my cup of coffee. Ashwagandha is an adaptogen, which means that it's going to play with whatever else is in your system. So if you take the ashwagandha first and then the caffeine, they just do this wonderful little tango throughout the day. Additionally, there are probiotics and digestive enzymes, as is the case with most greens powders, which does in fact support optimal digestion. Moving on to the reds, again, many brands out there that create reds. These don't cure, fix, whatever. They are here to support. Well, greens are just that, green. They're vegetable derivative. Reds are typically fruit derivatives. So they're packed with antioxidants that help support inflammation and the perception of stress, which means that this is essentially like a recovery aid tool. Is it necessary? Again, with most supplements, no, it's not necessary. But it is super tasty, and if you have the budget for it, I find it to be a really fun addition to my routine. All right, let's get to some in the gym stuff. I'm gonna save creatine for last because truly I could give an hour-long lecture on creatine. So let's talk about the difference between a pre-workout and a pump formula. Oftentimes these two products, again from any brand, will have overlapping ingredients. Most pre-workouts will contain caffeine, but I have seen them contain other things such as yohimbe, which is another type of stimulant. In addition, this is where we get into the ingredient crossover between a pump formula or a non-stim pre-workout and a pre-workout loaded with stimulants, vasodilators, and nitric oxide boosters. And what do we want those for? Because when our blood vessels get bigger, we get more blood to the working muscle, which means we've got better nutrient shuttling, more oxygen, more food, more energy. And besides that, what's better than a nice pump in the middle of the gym? Honestly, dude. So they are performance, I hesitate to say the term performance enhancers, but they are there to help enhance your gym performance and hopefully help you either squeak out a few more reps or just have a little bit more intensity to your workout. Personally, since I train in the evening, I don't usually take a pre-workout, and if I do, I just take a little half a scoop because that caffeine half-life, Man, the older I get, I swear, the more caffeine sensitive I am. Up next, let's talk about an intra-workout. So, some people will say that Bcaa supplementation is totally unnecessary, and some say that it's totally necessary and you should never skip it. As with most supplements, nothing is entirely necessary. Now, the general consensus is that if you are hitting that protein target that we talked about at the beginning of this video, that you will likely have enough branched chain amino acids and essential amino acids coursing through your body that you don't need to supplement. However, studies do show that supplementation with BCAAs can support muscle protein synthesis or help to jumpstart it, which is the process of growing more muscle, which for many of us is kind of the goal in the gym, am I right? I also find, as somebody who drinks a lot of water, that it's nice to have a flavor option throughout the day. I do look forward to it. It's like a little treat, and especially the watermelon flavor over ice. Oh, baby. Other people who should maybe make a consideration about supplementing with BCAAs are vegans, because it is more difficult to get a full BCAA profile through plant-based sources. Additionally, again, I know this is kind of sounding a little bit like a commercial, but Buff Chicks also has ATP. I'll write it up here so you can see it. ATP is technically not digestible, but when it comes in the form of ATP, then it becomes more bioavailable to the body. ATP is what helps support with power output, muscle building, and reduce perception of fatigue. Now let's talk about the granddaddy of all supplements, creatine monohydrate. On the market, we've got two major types of creatine available. We've got creatine monohydrate and creatine hydrochloride. Monohydrate means that it comes attached with one molecule of water. Hydrochloride means that it comes attached with salt. Hydrochloride is often marketed as being more water soluble, which is technically true, but it is also less bioavailable, which means that it is less accessible for our body to use. Now, creatine is something that we already get in our diets, especially if you are a meat eater and enjoy red meat products specifically. So you've already got creatine in your system. What does it do? Well, it helps put ATP into mitochondria. You know, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. And ATP is what allows us to increase strength and power output and perhaps increase our endurance in a difficult workout by just a little bit. It is the most research-backed supplement on the market, period. A few things to note about supplementing with creatine. Number one, it's really important to drink enough water throughout the day. Number two, it's really important to take it daily. Number three, you do not need to do a loading phase. That's actually kind of just a little bit of a marketing term. Also, this is totally a myth, but I've heard people say that it will cause you to go bald. And that thought is predicated on one study with a very small sample size that was performed in young men. I think they were like rugby players, maybe lacrosse. And they found that after some of these gentlemen had supplemented with creatine, that they did in fact have thinning hair. Why that is? Creatine can increase DHT, which is a type of testosterone, and DHT is the type of testosterone that is responsible for male pattern baldness. So what this really means, and the takeaway from that study, is actually just that those young men were already predisposed to going bald. They were going to go bald anyway. Creatine can also cause a little bit of digestive distress. If this is the case for you, simply cut your dose in half until your body adjusts to the supplementation, and then you can re-increase your dose to 5 grams. 5 grams is the clinically effective dose, but 2.5 grams will still have a net positive effect. You should be aware that creatine, why am I dancing? You should be aware that sometimes creatine can cause some water, not sometimes, it's always going to cause some water retention. However, typically when we think of water retention, we think of feeling bloated and kind of gross and wanting to lose it. But the water retention that creatine causes is actually intramuscular. And we want that water in the muscles to help volumize them and allow them to contract and allow them to be powerful. So, it's not bad water weight, but it is an increase on the scale that can sometimes freak people out. And that's kind of the rundown on the basic necessities of supplementation. Now there are lots of other things out there that we could talk about, but for most people, where I recommend starting is with a daily multivitamin. Super easy, super simple. A protein supplement, because again, many people struggle with hitting that protein target. And for fun, a pre-workout or pump formula, non-stim pre-workout, is typically a really great place to start. I know that personally, I enjoy the ritual and routine of mixing up my pre-workout before I begin training. For many people just embarking on a fitness journey, it can be nice to have that ritual and routine that makes you feel like you are truly getting started on a journey. All right, guys, what am I missing? We talked about fat burners, protein, pre-workout, pump formula, creatine, daily multivitamins. If I'm missing anything or you have more specific questions about anything else, drop it in the comments below. I'm happy to answer your questions. This is highly requested on TikTok, but the videos never perform well. So don't forget to click that like button, click the subscribe button, click all the buttons, or else, and I'll see you in the next Vlogmas. Okay, bye! Type of whey Eat more protein! Protein is the building blocks of our blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. This is the supplement.